The author of Lady X said Taylor Swift's Vigilante shit helped inspire this book. So obviously, I read it because Vigilante shit is about a woman who gets wronged and decides, you know what? I'm not going to sit around crying about this. I'm going to ruin your life. And once you know that was part of the inspiration for Lady X, the entire premise makes a lot of sense. We've got female rage, revenge, family secrets, vigilante justice. And if you've ever wanted to knee a man in the balls for telling you that you should smile more, this book is for you. I'm going to tell you what it's all about without spoiling anything. This is Lady X by Molly Fader, and it is a suspense novel that came out this summer, and it takes place across two different timelines. We have Los Angeles in 2024 and New York City in 1977. In the present-day storyline, we meet Margot Cooper, whose A-list actor husband has just become involved in a very public scandal. So Margot gets the hell out of there. She goes back to her childhood home, and while she's there, she discovers old papers and newspaper clippings in an attic, and those are connected to mysterious vigilante known as Lady X. Then we jump back to New York in 1977, where a group of women begins taking justice into their own hands after the system fails one of them. And that is really all I think you should know before going into this, because part of the fun is figuring out how those two timelines connect. And trust me, they connect. Molly Fader has said in an interview on a Bookish podcast that vigilante shit helped inspire the book. But don't go into this expecting Taylor Swift Easter eggs hidden on every other page. Nobody's leaving a red scarf behind, there is no secret 13, and you don't need to start analyzing chapter numbers. It is the same emotional energy behind the song. Revenge, female anger, women reclaiming power, and that delicious little idea of what happens when women who have been wronged decide they are done playing by everybody else's rules. That is where I really see the Taylor Swift connection. If we haven't met yet, hi, I'm Christina. I'm a Swiftie who talks about books on the internet. And if reading is your jam, then smash that subscribe button, as the kids say. Okay, so you have the legend of Lady X, this mysterious female vigilante operating in 1970s New York. Stories have grown over the years, and now, decades later, Margot starts realizing that her own family may somehow be connected to it, which obviously makes you want to know, who was Lady X? What really happened? And how much of this story has been distorted over the last 40 plus years? I love any mystery where something buried in the past suddenly starts clawing its way back into the present. That part absolutely worked for me. The one thing that took me a little longer to settle into was the dual timeline. And this happens to me with dual timelines all the freaking time. I'll start getting invested in one story and then suddenly 1977. I'm like, wait, come back. I had questions. Then I get invested in 1977 and I'm in 2024. So it took me a little bit to get fully locked into both timelines. I wanted answers from both of them. The 1977 sections were especially interesting because you're essentially watching a legend form in real time. You know that years later, people will be talking about this mysterious Lady X, but you're back there watching the events that created the story. Meanwhile, in 2024, you're trying to figure out which parts of that legend are true, which parts have changed over time, and what Margot's family has to do with any of it. That push and pull is where the dual timeline really started to work for me, because the closer you get to the end, the more you can feel these two stories heading toward each other. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, how are you going to pull this all together? Underneath the mystery, the book is asking some much bigger questions. What happens when the institutions that are supposed to protect women fail them? What happens when nobody believes you? And at what point does justice turn into revenge? Because taking justice into your own hands sounds incredibly satisfying when you're reading about horrible people getting what they deserve. And listen, sometimes you're reading a book thinking, yes, queen, commit the felony. But then there are consequences. And Lady X does play with that line between wanting those women to fight back and wondering how far is too far. I wouldn't say this becomes a super heavy philosophical examination of vigilante justice. It's still a suspense novel. We're here to have fun. But there is enough underneath the thriller plot that it gave me something to think about beyond just, okay, who did what? Now, I can't say much about the ending or the book because spoilers, but I will say this. Both timelines come full circle. And that was really important to me because whenever you're reading a dual timeline book, the ending has one major job. Make me understand why I just spent an entire book bouncing between two time periods. And Lady X does. There are reveals, there are connections, things that happened decades earlier suddenly change how you understand what's happening in the present. And I finished this book very satisfied. This could be a really good book for you if you like revenge stories, female-centered suspense, dual timelines, family secrets, urban legends, mysteries from the past resurfacing in the present, and morally complicated characters, obviously, and just women deciding that perhaps the justice system could use a little freelance assistance. And if you clicked on this video specifically because of the Taylor Swift connection, I think the better question isn't, does this feel like a Taylor Swift book? It's, do you like the themes behind vigilante shit? If the revenge, female rage, reclaiming your power, and getting even parts of that song are what you love, then yes, I can absolutely see the connection. And the female rage and revenge elements made it much more interesting to me than just a standard family secret thriller. I gave Lady X 4 stars, and now I need to know if you could choose one Taylor Swift song to inspire a thriller or mystery novel, which one are you picking? Because I feel like No Body, No Crime feels perfect. I mean, Taylor already wrote half the plot for us. So tell me in the comments. And if you like spoiler-free book reviews and recommendations that help you figure out what's actually worth adding to your TBR, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next one.